Hey guys, Christina Regine here. Today we are making lechon or pernil al horno, which is basically a crispy oven roasted pork shoulder. It's actually pretty easy and quick to make, so let's get started. I have an 8-pound pork shoulder here, and here I have the inner side or the side without the skin of the shoulder facing up, and I'm using a knife to poke holes into it. This is so we can put some seasoning into it and make sure that it is well infused with flavor. You want the holes to be all about the same distance from one another. And now let's flip it over. Now I'm cutting the skin away from the meat, but you don't want to remove the skin from it. Just peel the skin back and then cut slits into the meat to make sure that the seasoning you add to it will really penetrate the meat. The slits should also be about the same distance from each other. Back to the other side with the holes that I just poked in there. Stick one whole garlic clove into each hole, pushing in deep to make sure it's embedded into the meat. Here I have some whole cloves and I'm sticking those into the holes as well. Just use one clove per hole. And same as the garlic, push in deep to make sure that it is well embedded into the meat. Once we're done with that, we can go ahead and season the meat with some Epis. And if you watch my other videos, you know that I use Epis a lot in my recipes. So here's how to make it. To prepare our Epis, we need 2 bell peppers, 1 large onion, a bunch of scallions, about 10 garlic cloves, 1 bunch of fresh thyme, a bunch of parsley, and 1 scotch bonnet pepper or habanero pepper. Put everything in the food processor, and to it, we will add 1.5 tablespoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of whole cloves, 2 tablespoons of adobo, or you can use whatever kind of mixed seasoning you like, 1 sachet of accent seasoning, and 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Combine everything, and don't worry about the whole cloves because it's going in the food processor, but if you prefer to use ground cloves instead, then that's fine. So combine these dry seasonings and add it to the food processor with the vegetables. And now we have our bowl of Epis, and to it add 1 tablespoon of lime juice and a 1/4 cup of olive oil. I know that this is a lot of seasoning we just made here, but this is a good seasoning that you can use in meat, seafood, rice, pasta, whatever you want to put it in. So just store it in an airtight glass jar in the fridge for future use, and it will keep for a long time. Spread the Epis all over the meat, going into the holes and making sure that it is well coated. I am using about 1.5 cups of Epis here, but depending on the size of your pork shoulder, you might use more or less. Get every nook and cranny, but avoid putting Epis on the skin. The reason why I don't recommend putting Epis on top of the pork skin is because you want to use a salt-based seasoning on it instead, so that the skin can come out nice and crispy once it is cooked. So just go underneath the skin instead. Also, make sure you wash your hands really well before handling the meat. Make sure you get the Epis into the slits as well, just to make sure that the seasoning well penetrates the meat. Also get under the skin, but not on top of the skin. Now for a key ingredient, Tabasco. It has to be Tabasco, guys. I will not accept pork that uses any hot sauce other than Tabasco on it. Anyway, add the Tabasco to all sides of the meat and under the skin. You don't have to use too much, but make sure you use a good amount. Underneath the skin here, we're going to add some Sazón accent seasoning as well as adobo. Make sure you season it well and evenly. And adobo already has salt in it, so you don't have to add any additional salt to the meat. I'm also adding some fresh thyme under the skin, and I'm arranging it to make it look nice and pretty. Not that it really matters, it's gonna cook all the same anyway. And now I covered it back with the skin, and I'm adding some more sazon accent on top of the skin as well as adobo. You could marinate this in the refrigerator for a day or so, but if you don't have time, it will still come out amazing even if you don't marinate it. So now for the cook time, it varies by size. I have an 8-pound pork shoulder here, and I cooked it for 4.5 hours total. So 2 hours, 15 minutes covered, and then the next 2 hours, 15 minutes uncovered. If you have a pork shoulder that is over 8 pounds, then you will need about 5 minutes more per pound. If you don't have a cover for your roasting pan, then use aluminum foil to cover it and make sure that it is wrapped airtight. And now here is the pork shoulder out of the oven after the first half of cook time. I uncovered it so I can put it back in the oven for the second half of cook time. And now here it is out of the oven and it's done cooking. Also, make sure that you cook it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and please do not make the heat too high and don't broil the pork. You cannot broil pork, otherwise it will come out way too hard and tough. You can see that the skin is really crispy, which is what we want. I'm tapping it with a fork to demonstrate. And the meat is also nice and tender, as you can see, as I kind of pull it apart here with a fork so you can see how tender it is. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. For more recipes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, see ya!